What's going on, guys? Platinum Cards in the house, and today I'm coming to you with my Dino Shaddoll deck build. Now, before we get started, if you like what you see, please like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get started. So first, let's take a look at the monsters in this deck. I like to run 3 copies of Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. Now, this is the boss monster in the entire deck. Even though you're running Shadolls with it, this is probably the monster I would like to get out the most because of its effect to flip your opponent's monsters face down. It can interrupt combos, it can interrupt effects. You want this on the field at all times, pretty much. Next, I like to play 3 copies of Soul Eating Overraptor. Now, this card is super cool because it's the main searcher in your deck. So its effect is, if this card is normal or special summon, you can take one dinosaur type monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. Now, that effect is really cool, as you'll see going on later. You can target one other level 4 lower dinosaur monster on the field, destroy it, then special summon one dinosaur monster from your graveyard in defense position. You can only use each effect of Soul Eating Overraptor once per turn. As we'll see going on later, this works really well with a field spell because the field spell will summon a token, and then you can destroy a token on your opponent's side of the field in order to special summon something. So, pretty dope. Next, I like to play 2 copies of, I don't know how to pronounce this thing, so I will try. It's Animadorned Archosaur. Its effect is, this card is normal special summon. You can destroy one dinosaur monster in your hand or face up on the field, except Animadorned Archosaur. Then add one reptile, sea serpent, or winged beast monster with the same original type as that destroyed monster, or one evolution pill spell from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. This is really dope to search out the evolution pill. Also really dope to dump something in the graveyard. The evolution pill, as we'll see going on, is how you pop off a lot of combos as well. Next, this card was a 3 of in this deck, but it got limited recently, so I play 1 copy of Miscellaneousaurus. Now, this card is super dope because it makes it so during the main phase, your monsters aren't affected by any effects. So it's a pretty easy way to just stop your opponent from being able to target your monsters or affecting your monsters anyway. Obviously, the weakness in this is once the battle phase starts, it goes away. So it can be played around, but having 3 in the deck is trouble. Next, I like to play 2 copies of Babysaurus and 1 copy of Petite Pteranodon. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but these cards are pretty cool too. Its effect is, if this card is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, special summon 1 level 4 lower dinosaur type monster from your deck. So this is a really dope combo with the last couple cards we showed, so just send it straight to the graveyard, and then you can special summon monsters. Also really cool is it's not once per turn, so if you manage to pop this off twice, all the better, right? Next, so for Petite Pteranodon, its effect is, when this card is destroyed by effect sent to the graveyard, special summon 1 level 4 or higher dinosaur type monster from your deck, but it cannot attack this turn. So again, same thing. 1 summons level 4 or lower, 1 summons level 4 or higher. So I only play 1 of these because that monster won't be able to attack that turn. So it's good to just have it out. I like to summon a couple different things with it, but yeah. Next, I like to play 1 copy of Fossil Dyna Pachyphalo. I suck at pronunciations, guys. But neither player can special summon monsters. When this card is flipped face up, destroy all special summon monsters on the field. This is dope because it just shuts down your opponent pretty quickly. So if I have my boss monster out and then I have this on the field, I can shut them out pretty easily. I also like to play 1 copy of Giant Rex. Its effect is, cannot attack directly. If this card is banished, you can special summon this card from your hand. Special summon this card. And if you do, this card gets 200 attack for each of your banished dinosaur monsters. Now, this is really good because, as we'll see with another card going on, going a little bit later, that it will get banished, and you actually do want this to get banished. So when it does get banished, you can special summon it, and a lot of times you can go into an XYZ summon from there. So it's pretty good. I also like to play 1 copy of Dino Wrestler Prank Tops, and that's just for the to destroy something on the field. So not bad. That was all for the Dino monsters. Next, for the Shaddoll monsters, I like to play 2 copies of Shaddoll Squamata. Squamata's effect is, flip, you can target 1 monster on the field, destroy it. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can send 1 Shaddoll card from your deck to the graveyard except Shaddoll Squamata. You can only use 1 Shaddoll Squamata effect per turn, only once that turn. Next, I also like to play 2 copies of Shaddoll Wendy. Shaddoll Wendy's effect is, flip, you can special summon 1 Shaddoll monster from your deck and face up or face down defense position except Shaddoll Wendy. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon 1 Shaddoll monster from your deck and face down defense position except Shaddoll Wendy. So it's a pretty dope searcher. It gets you pretty much anything out, any of your Shadolls at least. Next, I like to play 2 copies of Shaddoll Beast. Now, Shadoll Beast is pretty cool. Its effect is flip, you can draw 2 cards and discard 1 card. So if you flip this card, if you get attacked or whatever, you can draw 2, discard 1. It's just the easy way to get some drawing off. Secondly, if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can draw 1 card. So both ways, you get your drawing power. Next are my 1-ups. I just have 2 1-ups of Shaddolls in this deck. I play 1 copy of Shaddoll Hedgehog and 1 copy of Shaddoll Dragon. Shaddoll Dragon's effect is flip. You can target 1 card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. So that card I'm not too concerned with, but it does come in handy sometimes. Secondly, if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can target 1 spell or trap on the field, destroy it. I'd like to use that because this deck doesn't have too much spell trap removal, so just an easy way to get around spells and traps. Lastly, for the Shaddoll monsters, I have Shaddoll Hedgehog. Its effect is you can add 1 Shaddoll flip. You can add 1 Shaddoll spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Now this is dope because I can just search Shaddoll Fusion or El Shaddoll Fusion. And this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect. You can add 1 Shaddoll monster from your deck to your hand, except Shaddoll Hedgehog. You can only use 1 Shaddoll Hedgehog effect per turn, and only once that turn. So not bad, right? Next are my spells and traps. I like to play 3 copies of the field spell Lost World, and that's pretty self-explanatory for this deck. Its effect is all monsters on the field lose 500 attack and defense except dinosaur monsters, so it's easy way to just kind of lower my opponent's attack. Secondly, its effect is if a dinosaur monster is normal special summoned except during the damage step, you can special summon 1 Jirag token. So like we were talking about earlier, the field spell summons a token, and then you can use Soul Eating Overraptor to destroy the token on your opponent's side of the field to pop off your combos. To your opponent's field in defense position, where your opponent controls a token, they cannot target monsters on the field with card effects except tokens. So this third effect technically is also really, really good. It just stops your monsters from getting targeted. So not bad, right? Obviously, there's non-targeting removal, but it does limit a lot of what people can do. Once per turn, if a normal monster on the field would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy that many dinosaur monsters in your hand and or deck instead. I'm not too concerned with that last effect, but the other effects are really good. Next, I like to play 3 copies of Fossil Dig. Now, Fossil Dig is really dope because it's a generic dinosaur searcher. You can pretty much pull anything out of this deck. Its effect is you can add 1 level 6 or lower dinosaur type monster from your deck to your hand. So obviously I can't search the boss monster, but I can search the cards that will allow me to search for it. So it's pretty good. Next, I like to play 2 copies of Double Evolution Pill. Double Evolution Pill is pretty dope as well because you can banish 1 dinosaur monster and 1 non-dinosaur monster. So that works really well with the Shaddolls. From your hand and or graveyard, special summon 1 level 7 or higher monster from your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. You only activate 1 Double Evolution Pill per turn. So this is a good way to get at the boss monster. So the card that we were talking about earlier, let me see if I can find it. 1 second. Giant Rex. So if I use this to banish Giant Rex, I can immediately special summon the Giant Rex and then get my boss monster out. And then let's say I have another opportunity to summon another level 4, which most times I do, and then I can go straight into an XYZ summon from there. So not bad, right? Next, I like to play 2 copies of El Shaddoll Fusion and 2 copies of Shaddoll Fusion. Now, this is pretty self-explanatory, just to get my Shaddoll Fusions out. I also like to play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. This is because I don't have any kaijus or reliable ways to get out to just get rid of my opponent's monsters. So I like to play a Super Poly just to, 1, be able to fuse and get a bunch of different cards out, and secondly, just remove my opponent's monsters. And since Super Polys can't be negated, it's a pretty decent card. Lastly are my 1-ups for spell cards. I like to play 1 Monster Reborn, 1 Foolish Burial, and then 1 Terraforming to search my field spell. And that was it for the monsters and spells. I don't play any trap cards in this deck, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the extra deck. I play 1 copy of El Shaddoll Construct, 1 copy of El Shaddoll Winda, 1 copy of El Shaddoll Al Capone, I really suck with this name, 1 copy of El Shaddoll Athonolis, 1 copy of El Shaddoll Grista, 1 copy of El Shaddoll Shikanaga. I'm really bad with names, guys. Okay, so that was it for my Shaddoll package, at least my Shaddoll engine and the extra deck. And so all of these cards are really dope because they all take a Shaddoll monster plus one other monster, right? So most of my dinos are earth monsters, so I can pretty easily get this off Shekanaga. Most of the time, I prefer to summon this as well, but it's usually a super poly target. I can use other Shaddolls as well, but I prefer to use super polys. Most of these other cards will be super poly targets, like this one. 2 Shaddoll monsters, different attributes. Actually, this one, wrong example, terrible example. Just use any of my Shaddolls. I can summon this as well with super poly. This takes a Shaddoll monster plus a light monster, so I can summon it, but I can also use my opponent's monsters, so not bad. Next, I like to play one copy. So this is for the XYZ monsters. So any of my level 4s out there, I like to play one copy of Evil Azor Dolka and Evil Azor Lagia. So these are both pretty good for negation purposes. This one's effect is when another monster's effect, so not this one obviously, but is activated, quick effect, you can detach one material from this card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy the monster. So not bad. And then secondly is this one. During either player's turn, when a monster or monsters will be normal summoned or special summoned, or a spell trap card effect is activated, you can detach 2 XYZ materials from this card, negate the summoner activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So it's kind of a nice way for me to just stop my opponent in their tracks with their combos. Next, I like to play number 101. I also like to play Tornado Dragon for some spell and trap removal. I like to play a copy of Abyss Dweller, just in case my opponent has graveyard effects. That's a nice way to negate everything. I like to play one copy of Evil Swarm Extinction. And I also like to play, lastly for the XYZ monsters, one copy of Divine Arsenal AA Zeus. And then we have 2 fusion monsters. These are also super poly targets. I like to use these for super poly as well, but I can use them with my monsters as well. So, Mud Dragon of the Swamp, it's a worm fusion. It takes 2 monsters of the same attribute but different types. Its effect is your opponent cannot target this card or monsters on the field with the same attribute as this card. With card effects, once per turn, quick effect, you can declare one attribute. This card becomes that attribute to the end of the turn. And then lastly, we have Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, its effect is it takes 2 dragon monsters on the field except tokens. So its effect is if this card is fusion summoned, you can make this card gain attack equal to 1 opponent's special summon monster until the end of the turn. Once per turn, you can target 1 level 5 or higher monster your opponent controls until the end phase. This card's name becomes that card's monster's original name and replace this effect with that monster's original effects. This fusion summon card is destroyed. You destroy all your opponent's special summon monsters. I like to use this just to kind of bait my opponent. So if they know if this is destroyed, their special summon monsters are going to be destroyed. They kind of usually play a lot safer around this card. So it's pretty good card. Alright guys, so that was it for my Shaddoll Dino build. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. And oh my goodness, look at the time.
It's time to